How you doing, YouTube? And welcome back to another review here at Thomas Opent, where today I am joined by my good buddy.
You want me to introduce
Yeah,
myself?
you can introduce yourself. You're a big boy.
I'm Keith from 93 Lumber.
And he does the beer stuffs. Like so many of us do. And it's been a while since we did a collaboration. And I think most of our collaborations lately were Schlenkerla's.
Yes, I believe they were.
They were, yeah. So we figured it would be fun to do something that was easy for both of us to get, which is often either, some hyped American breweries, but we figured we would do the Trappe Quad, which is definitely one of the most classic of beers out there. If I remember my history correctly, Trappe was the first. They are a Dutch brewery, by the way. Was, I believe, the first to use. Yeah. Brouwerij Koningshoeven is a Dutch brewery.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know
You're drinking a Dutch beer. They are Trappist. They still have the Trappist logo and everything on it. And they were the first, if I remember correctly, to use the word quadruple. And if I remember correctly, that's just over 25 years ago now, maybe almost 30. And if my memory serves me, that caused a little bit of a row between Belgium and the Netherlands, because Belgians were saying, yes, but we've been brewing beers like this for a long time. But Trappe was like, yes, maybe, but you never called it a quadruple. So we're calling it a quadruple now. That's the word we came up with. So if memory serves, that is the first. I Google this. If you're watching this, Google it and find out if that's true. But memory serves. There we go. And you were saying something interesting right before we started filming this.
Yeah. This could. I can't remember if I've ever had this beer. So this may be the first time that I'm having it.
Well,
that's fine.
You're in for a treat, because I've had it several times before.
And not only am I in for a treat, but I am also in good company.
Thank you so much. We both are, because like good friends, good friendship beer is best enjoyed. That came out so wrong. I wanted to say a good beer is enjoyed with in good friendship. There we go. Ooh, quite foamy. Mine is quite foamy.
Mine is a bit foamy as well.
Yeah. Now, yours is slightly older than mine is, but not at a point where you really start talking about it being aged. And we just reviewed something before this. And if you look at the color of this, it kind of resembles the same color.
Yeah, a little
darker.
It's got
that little darker, but it's got that big amber hue to it. In the glass, it looks, oddly enough, like it's very, well, I hate the word hazy, because these days when you say hazy, people will always think about, IPAs, but actually it's very much clear beer.
Mine's hazy. I was gonna say that. I was gonna say like, yours looks clear, but mine is. I mean, it's not like super, but there is a cloudiness to it. So.
There is maybe a little bit of residue in the bottom, not a lot. This is not a beer that is known for like a thick, but maybe that is because yours is a little bit older.
Yeah,
could have started that slightly murky thing going on. I don't think your beer is being brewed in the States, right? I know some breweries have locations across, but as far as I know, this is only produced in the Netherlands.
Yeah, it's imported.
Right. Yeah, it is imported. It comes in at 10% ABV. Just before we forget to state that. And I mean, ingredients-wise, this is the only thing that always irked me a little bit. It's brewed with glucose syrup.
Yeah.
Which, it's
basically just sugar.
It is, but I always think like just add like candied sugar or anything. But for a lot of people, this is basically the OG quad the go-to when they think of a quadruple. It's definitely one of my favorite. I'm not gonna say it's the best out there for me, but it is very high up there. So I'm very curious what you're going to think when you have your first sniff of a Trappe quad. Shall we go for it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I took one sniff. I took one sniff, and it was all like we were just talking about the glucose syrup.
Like,
yeah. One sniff, it was all like Belgian candied sugar. It was a little more. It is a little more. Because like I feel like Belgian candied sugar, like, or at least, what was I saying? Man, I just lost my train of thought.
No, it's okay.
So this, it smells like Belgian candied sugar, but there is like a
little bit more artificial.
Yeah, a little more like sweeter. Like
it's the difference between when you drink coffee with. I don't drink sugar in my coffee. I used to. I don't drink it anymore. But it's like putting sugar in your coffee or sweetener in your coffee. It's both sweet, but you can get the difference. Having said that, by the way, the rest of it is that big, bold, like that overripe banana thing, like those. Even though it's a Dutch beer, it's got that overripe banana thing from those typical yeast they use, those esters.
I do get a little banana, but
really
the candied sugar thing is definitely the bigger thing.
Maybe that's because they're the difference in age here. Yours is
probably about a year older.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do get the banana thing, but definitely more dark fruits than banana.
Oh, for sure. No, that's definitely there. There's definitely that sort of like that forest fruit thing going on, like some cherries, some berries, some apricots and dried apricots, dried figs, plums. And for me personally, incredibly bready. Like bready, doughy, if you know what I mean, and quite a big presence of clove, of spice, but mostly clove.
Yeah, I'm not getting much clove. I just spilled it on myself.
Oh no.
Yeah, the banana and the clove thing are the. I don't even know if I'm getting any clove.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, mine's like super fruity. Super fruity.
I'm getting the fruit, definitely, but that's interesting because yours was again. If I'm reading, yeah.
What do they give these 3 years?
I was looking at that because if I'm seeing this correctly, 3 years because I'm seeing a 3E. So the batch code is 1738, which almost looks like a timestamp.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's L1 3E24. So that to me, it would say, I think that's probably March 24. So mine is like only a couple of months old. I have a very fresh batch. Or the E could, no, it's probably E is probably because it's the best buy date is May 2027. So it's the E is probably like 5th month. So mine is probably like 2 months. It's July 21st right now. So mine is probably like 2 months old. And yours?
Mine is April 2026.
Yeah.
So that would put this, about a year older than yours.
Yeah.
And the batch is 1014 L21 D23.
Yeah, the D23. That's again yours. That's April 23. So yours is basically a year and 3 months. So I'm willing to say that having that yeasty component, the esters already subduing, and you're getting your more fruity impact. I would have thought that a year of aging wouldn't have done that much of a difference, but apparently,
yeah.
Are you getting anything like a little bit aniseedy like?
I could see that. I've been eating fennel recently, and there's a little bit of that. It's not as it's like that, but without like the spiciness of it. It's kind of just it's like the flavor without the spice or the.
When you're talking by way fennel, you're talking about the vegetable, or you mean like the fennel seeds for like spices, or
yeah, like mean... the is there a root vegetable? Whatever it is.
I think it is.
Yeah.
That's a root vegetable.
Like, yeah, like the bulb. Yeah.
Good stuff, by the way.
Yeah.
The fennel and the beer. Oh, this is nice. It's got I find it interesting that mine apparently has more spice and banana than yours has. Yeah. Because for me that's very dominant. I love it though. What's because if this is the first time you're having it, what are your thoughts on the nose so far?
I mean, it smells good. It smells like I want to drink it.
Maybe we should do that.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. If you must.
This is your rodeo, so
there we go.
You're in charge.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. So saying all that stuff about the aroma, the banana and the clove are not big in the taste, but they are definitely there. I was not getting them in the aroma, but the banana is definitely bigger, and I am getting a little bit of clove. So those things are present.
You know what we may have messed up in? What people will probably know by now, and otherwise it's going to be a nice surprise. We just filmed something else before we did this. And we did a whiskey review together for your channel.
Yes.
And I thought that because we had some big beers that we were planning on doing, I thought that if we do the beers first, we're not going to get too much of the nuance of a nice whiskey. I wonder if doing the whiskey first may have numbed my palate a little bit, because I'm still getting a lot, but it feels a little bit less impactful on the palate right now. While No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was about to say, because I know that this has a lot more impact on the palate than it is doing right now.
Yeah. I've got this little spot on the back of my tongue where I can definitely tell the whiskey might have hit it just a little too hard, and it just kind of numbed it a little bit.
Having said this, by the way, this would be a nice beer to, maybe not the whiskey, I'm not going to say which whiskey it is because that would be a pity, but this would be a nice beer to do like a whiskey and beer comparison with, companion with, because I can see some whiskeys going very nice with this. But on the palate, definitely that fruitiness that you were talking about, maybe more for me on the than it was on the nose. But again, that clove, that banana, again, very bready.
Yep.
And even though on the palate, I again am getting that sweetness, it ends more bitter than I thought it would. I'm not saying it's usually bittering, but it is.
Yeah. It's like kind of almost like we were talking about the before we started this, we were talking about the oak aged version of this. It's kind of like a drying bitterness that is almost kind of like oak aged, but it's not.
As if it's got that sort of like tannic structure that you could get from oak aging. Yeah. So maybe not like barrel aged, but if it would, if this had been If somebody had given me this blindly and said, this has been matured for a couple of months in steel tanks, but with some oak chips, I would have believed that. I could have seen that being a thing. I still like it though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
And I have a big soft spot for this beer. But it's still not my go-to favorite quad out there.
Do you want to say what your favorite go-to quad is, or you want to save it for?
Well, the thing is, we have some beers that we're planning on doing, and they are a bit vague on the style. Some would call them Belgian strong dark ales. And this is where things get a little bit sketchy, because there are some that say that, that's what the Belgians were saying. Yeah, but we've been brewing beers like this for a long time. I find that the Belgian strong dark ales are often more darker in color than this. One that I personally may like a little bit more, but I will have to say, this is with a caveat because I haven't had it for a while. Do you know Straffe Hendrik? Ever heard of them?
I want to say yes.
So they have.
If I saw it, I could tell you, but
they have if my memory serves me the way that I remember it, they have a lovely quad that for me has a little bit less sweetness and a bit more breadiness to it, a little bit more expressive malt character. And that one, I think, does trump. Sorry for that word. This. And the two beers that we have in mind, you could sort of qualify them in that same, big hemisphere of the stronger, darker ales. I was planning, and it never happened because he couldn't find it, but I was planning on doing a review with Matt of the La Trappe Isidore. And we talked about the Isidore.
Oh, yeah. They didn't have that one.
Exactly. And the Isidore, otherwise I would have said you and I should have done the Isidore, because the Isidore has a flavor profile that is very similar to this, but it's only 7 or 7.5%.
Oh.
And I prefer that beer in the La Trappe range. I actually love the Isidore more than I do this.
Yeah.
Even though it's not a quad, but because it's lower in ABV and has that similar flavor profile. So if you ever find a bottle of Isidore, just buy it. We're doing a review together. I promise you. If you ever find one.
Yeah, because I was going to say, for 10%, this is an easy drinker. I could like even on like a hot summer day hanging out outside, I could probably drink like 5 of these.
This is danger juice. You know what the best, I love, this is one of my favorite words. You know what the best word is to describe this? Quaffable.
You've
the word,
used that word before.
Yeah, the word quaffable. The great late Terry Pratchett, who was a British author who did wonderful fantasy work with lots of humor in it. You would definitely love it. He attacks the establishment a lot as well. So again, you would love it. Once used the word quaffable and said, to describe what quaffing means is to drink a beverage in such a way that more of it ends up in your beard than it does in your mouth. Now, I have this huge stein here, which is filled with water, by the way, to hydrate. But can you imagine having like a pint-sized stein like this, half a liter, filled with this? You'll have it done and gone in 5 minutes. And you'll be wanting another.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, but also not a good thing.
Yeah. It'd be a rough situation.
They come in 750s, these beers.
Mm-hmm.
I never buy them in 750s. I also never buy more than one of these for the exact same reason that you just said.
Why? Because you just drink them like they're fucking Miller High Lifes or something?
Basically, what you just said, they're gone. And like, if you have a 750 of this, you know it would be gone in less than an hour by yourself. If you bought, we buy them by the singles or in 6-packs. If you had a 6-pack of these and you're like, oh, you know what? It's a Saturday. I just came home from work or whatever, or you had a day off and you're like, I'm going to go in the kitchen. I'm going to make some food and I'll have a nice big beer to join me. And that'll be the only beer I will have tonight.
And 7 of these later.
You know, this is, you know whose beer this is. I don't know if you know him personally, but you know who he is. Paul. From Paul's Brew, forgot his last name. He has a YouTube channel as well. Lives very close to Canada. Huge guy. Does a lot of painting. He could down 4 of these in an hour, and you wouldn't even tell. You couldn't even tell. This is his stuff.
Yeah. So we don't have to expand on this if you don't want to, but just a question: Does this being 10%? And drinking the way it does it make it a better beer, or does it? Because it's not a bad beer, obviously.
No,
it tastes good. It's drinkable, whatever. But for the ABV, because like I know there's a thing in the specifically craft beer community where people love like triple IPAs that drink like they're 4%.
I hate that. I still no. That's horrible. That is why I love the Easy Door, which gives me a lot of the similar flavor profiles, but it's 7 or 7.5%. If I am drinking a 10% beer, I want it to drink like a 10% beer. I actually love it when I'm drinking a 10% beer and it drinks like a 14% beer. I love it when I have, and I had one not that long ago, when I'm drinking a grisette that was like 4%, but it drinks like it's 6%. That is what I want. I want lower ABV, or I want the impact of the beer to be higher than the ABV is. If it's the other way around, I'm not happy. And even though the beer might be wonderful and delicious and tasty, and again, this is still one of my favorites. I can pick this up where I work. I can pick this up in any supermarket. I can pick this up throughout the nation, everywhere. And it's always consistently good. And these are the beers that I grew up, not like that, but these were the beers that my beer drinking grew up with, you know, things like before they became the commercialized shit that it is right now, things like Leffe, things like Grimbergen, things like all your classic Belgian doubles, triples, blondes, but also their strong dark ales. That's what I grew up with, including La Trappe. By the time I started drinking, these guys were already a well-established name. So it is always going to have a special place in my heart, and it never disappoints. But it's not the perfection in the glass that some people say it is.
Yeah, like I could, yeah, like if I was looking to, because like I would prefer this over a triple IPA.
Oh yeah, any day of the week.
And, so like instead of getting a 4-pack of triple IPAs, I would grab a few of these and just be like, "This is what I'm drinking tonight." If that's what I was trying to do, which is not really what I do much anymore.
No, but I get your point. And honestly, this pairs with many things. I can see myself, you know, I don't know if you're like into movies or whatever, but you're into gaming, right? And I don't know if you're into like good food and everything, but I'm like into good food. I love good cheeses, funky cheeses, old cheeses. I love charcuterie, you know, dried cured meats. If you're in good company, or even if you're just by yourself playing a video game or watching a movie, and you have 2 or 3 of these bottles, and you got some nice cheese and some cured meats and some other things, you know, that is fucking spectacular.
Yeah.
And you're having a great time. So,
actually, yeah. I was going to say, like, this, like, thinking of it that way, this beer makes sense. Like, this beer makes sense if you are drinking it while you are eating, while you are, like, doing things, because it's not heavy-handed, so it's not going to just not like destroy any other flavors in your mouth.
Mm.
But also it's a higher ABV, so eating would kind of, what's the word? Kind of
Help.
Yeah.
Definitely help. But but it makes sense. And again, I feel like I'm being a little bit too negative about what is basically one of my, well, I'm not going to say childhood beers, but I'm 42. When you start looking at when you're in your, well, back then you could start drinking when you were 16 in the Netherlands. These days it's 18, but back then it was 16. And I was only drinking, of course, like lagers, like commercial lagers, and maybe the occasional blonde. But by the time I was getting like 19, 20, 21, 22, and I was really developing what I like in terms of, whiskey and beer and everything, this is the stuff that I grew up with, This is the stuff that made me adore beer, and it still does. But again, when it comes to like the really good stuff, the things that I think are actually maybe a little bit better, well, we're going to get to that in a little bit, you and I, in a different video. But yeah, it's great stuff, and I'm not going to knock it, and I don't want to sound too negative, but I also think it's maybe. By the way, I just poured out the rest of what I had in the bottle a little bit earlier, and it's definitely a little bit more cloudy than it was. Yours, maybe it's the lighting, but yours also seems like a tad darker than mine.
It's not as dark as it is on camera.
Okay.
It's roughly the same color. I think mine is slightly cloudier than yours. Which I think is why it comes off a little darker on camera, because it is a little cloudier.
That makes sense.
But yeah.
Yeah. Keith, any final words on the Trappe Quadrupel?
Nothing I said in this video was implying that I do not like this beer or that it was a bad beer. You talked about sounding negative about it.
Yeah.
This beer is great.
It is.
I have my complaints, but it tastes good.
I would advise you, if you can, next time you're in a shop, now that you know that it has like 3 years on it, try and find a fresher one and see what you can find, because that would be fun for you to try. Doesn't need to be for like reviewing or anything, but it could be fun for you to, or if you want to, you could do like a review on your own on your channel. Go like, hey, I had one with a little bit of age on it. This is a fresher batch, whatever. But it would be fun for you to try it as fresh as you could, because basically, like I said, with 2 months on it, I consider this, for the style, I consider this ultra fresh.
Yeah, and this is something I'm pretty sure I can get pretty much anywhere. Maybe not we have some liquor stores that kind of cater to more of the craft beer people and don't carry as much of the traditional stuff, but there's still local liquor stores that I can get this at, no problem. So they probably have more recent batches of this. The store I went to the store I was at the other day is like a huge store that has like crazy amounts of beer, and there's beer everywhere. And there were a couple beers that I wanted to pick up, but the Best By dates on those were like 2 years ago, so I did not get this.
Look, if you find one of these in a shop, and it's a dusty bottle, and it's like 2, 3, 4, 5 years past the Best By, assuming that it hasn't been standing in like the hot sun or whatever, and they hadn't had like it was near a window or whatever, you're not going to be disappointed. This is going to age very well. This is going to age phenomenally, and you're going to love it. And I do believe actually that a lot of these beers, I think you and I talked about that, and I've had conversations with all of you guys about this, but look at most of the barley wines that we love. Like most of the barley wines that we all love, we know that even as much as we love them when they're fresh, we simply adore them when they're older. Even if it's like only 4 or 5 years, that's already enough to change it to a point where you're going to notice so much more. So this is going to be great. If you find a bottle that's 2 years past the best by date, you're going to be happy, man. That's 5 years age on it. It's going to be delicious.
Yeah. The beers I didn't get that were past their best by date were not beers like this.
No, okay, cool.
They were beers that I was not exactly sure if. if.
Yeah, okay. I get you.
Yeah.
Is this the first Dutch beer that you've ever had?
Possibly. Because it's funny. It's funny that this is a Dutch beer because when I was at that store the other day, I was like, I'd really like to try like some Dutch beers just to be like, just to tell Thomas that I had them. And then you were like, oh, get the Trappe. So I was like, okay. Belgian beer, cool.
That was fun. That was fun, by the way, because we had a phone call while I was in. That was fun calling over. Well, phone call we use WhatsApp, so it doesn't charge your international thingy. But that was fun having that phone call. But yeah, guys, you witnessed it here. That was Keith's Dutch beer, cherry popped. Yeah. He's no longer unknown in the ways of the Dutch brewing skills, and I think he's happy.
I'm pretty happy.
By the way, pointing out the fact that it's 9:30 in the morning for you right now is also.
I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
I can't wait to post pictures of all this stuff and be like, had an early day with Thomas.
It's liquid bread, so when it comes to it, it has yeast in it, and yeast has vitamins. So you're having vitamins, you're having your carbohydrates in you right now. So you're off to a healthy start of the morning. Yeah. Except for the 10% ABV and the whiskey we reviewed just a little bit earlier. Yes. But other than that, very healthy.
Yes.
I think that kind of sums up this review. I'm going to do my usual spiel where I end this review. But before I do that, please, everybody, in the description box below, I'm going to post a link to 93 Lumber, which is Keith's channel. On his channel, in the description box and everything, you will find links to all of his social media. But if you start looking at 93 Lumber, you can follow him on where are you at? Instagram, I know, and
just YouTube and Instagram.
YouTube and Instagram. So go follow him there. And I'm very happy you did this with me. It was fun.
I'm very happy to be here.
Good company, good beer.
Thank you for having me.
Any day, any week, any year. So, if you like this video, hit that like button. If you really liked it, hit that subscribe button. In the description box below, you'll find links to all of my social media, a link to the Dutch Beer Collective, and a link to mysterybeer.nl. Please follow all of my friends in the Dutch Beer Collective. That would be Remy, Gerben, and Douglas. And as I specified earlier, also follow Keith. Go check out all of our American friends, by the way, because there's some very cool dudes out there. There's some not so cool dudes out there, but thankfully they're not in our inner circle, so that helps. And leave some comments. I'll see all you guys in another review soon. Cheers.
Cheers.